21 pathways to self-mastery. Mindfulness is a buzzword that has gained widespread attention, with people advocating for its benefits in overcoming addictions, anxiety, depression, you name it. Others tend to associate mindfulness as quite an important part of finding themselves on their spiritual journey. These 21 pathways of self-mastery are designed to help you create a mindful life from top to bottom, from outside to inside. Mindfulness and self-mastery really are about the art of bringing attention to the present moment. Every time we are mindful, we confront reality and life's gravity head on, without relinquishing to the body, heart, mind's instinct to just run and hide. When you have eventually cultivated self-mastery, you possess the power to govern yourself in any circumstance, propelling yourself forward with passion and determination towards your objectives. You become aware of your purpose and wield the self-discipline required to act deliberately with unwavering focus and integrity. So let's now delve into these simple 21 pathways to self-mastery and start to ignite our passion as we practice the art of self-realization every day of our lives. The mind is a slippery little beast. It operates largely on memory and complicated neurological maps. These maps allow us to navigate the world using past experience and memory as our compass. Every heightened emotion in particular that we have ever experienced is an anchor that allows us to react with lightning speed to our external environments. The whole system works like no one's business, but like any supercomputer, it has its flaws. The programs get old, bugs develop. Self-mastery gets us to the point of consciousness that this whole slippery process exists, really, and it's not who we are. We are far, far more than our mental processes. We are consciousness itself. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Let's remember that mindfulness is a practice, and if we want to play the guitar like Van Halen, we're going to need a lot of practice. It is no different with our mindfulness practice that we do every day. So I suggest reading The Power of Contemplative Intelligence to try and start really digging deeply into what constitutes you as a complete and whole being. You're not just your body, heart, and mind. You have a soul. You have a sacred self. Although the primal defense systems that we have in our personality keep out many, many new experiences and adventures like any good antivirus software would, change really becomes the least important thing to do over time. The mind eliminates risks where possible, and the unknown gives way to the mind's need for constant certainty. Mindfulness gives way to a full mind, a busy mind, which paradoxically turns into mindlessness. Habitual programs become anxiety, stress, depression, and even personality disorders in the end that lock us into running on autopilot. When we run on autopilot for too long, it's just a matter of time before we get lost. Pathway number 1, master your mind. To transform your thinking and consciousness, it is essential to break the stream of thoughts. Learn to respond rather than react. Mindfulness itself allows individuals to listen, think, and respond with clarity, openness, and honesty. We have all heard it said that you create your own personal reality with your thoughts and beliefs, but you experience it through feelings and emotions. Change your thoughts, change your life. Or when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Mindfulness has a power that supersedes even what medical science can do for us today. Largely, life is an inside job, and as we learn to master the mind, we start to see the evidence of miracles showing up more and more in our daily lives. As you begin to master the mind, an entire new world opens up in response. Pathway 2, Mastering Acceptance. By accepting the present moment, whether it's good or bad, individuals can achieve inner peace and tranquility. Mastering acceptance involves acknowledging and embracing the reality of the current situation that you're in without seeking to change it. A great practice to master acceptance is to get beyond your story. The mind's story, or his story, history, is ceaseless and starts to run the show over time. Imagine what things would be like if you accepted the situation just as it is. To do so, use relaxation strategies, mindfulness practices, journaling, and self-reflection to really understand your emotions. When we develop the mindful ability to stop automatic thoughts and ask ourselves who we are and how we feel really, we do so with traumatic, anxious, and disturbing thoughts. So the trick is to develop mindful ability without those disturbing thoughts, to get beyond the veil of ignorance. The lies we may find that have held us captive simply may not be true. Pathway 3, Mastering Awareness. By cultivating pure awareness and sharpening concentration, mindfulness enables individuals to become calmer, more productive, and successful. It encourages living in the present moment to foster a sense of contentment and well-being. Focusing on your attention, such as your breathing, and developing a non-judgment attitude is essential in mastering awareness. Mindfulness can help you increase your focus and adjust your thoughts. If you add thoughts, feelings, perceptions, and every other aspect of the self together, we have a whopping weapon for self-mastery. When we align our faculties, our bodies, hearts, and minds, along with our intuition and intentions, for example, all come together and we find dormant power within. Pathway 4, Living in the Present. Living in the present moment is an art that requires mindful practice. It involves focusing attention on the present reality that you're experiencing and averting thoughts that lead to depression or anxiety of any kind. These are normally caused by past worries, by memories, and even thoughts about the future. So living in the present, of course, means being aware of what is happening right here and right now, including being aware that you're having these thoughts about the past and the present is the pathway that we're speaking about here. The pathway about living in the present moment and knowing that your thoughts are not your reality. Pathway 5, Noticing. Noticing is an essential component of mindfulness, emphasizing the importance of being attentive and awake rather than evading reality. It allows for an encounter with reality as it is. So it gets into a category of our own, this noticing, because it is so very powerful. The mindfulness teacher Byron Katie asks us, how much of your time is spent worrying, planning, and stressing, reminiscing, daydreaming, or ruminating? All of those things pull you away from the present moment. The truth is, there is magic happening in this very moment. This moment that will never be repeated. What are you choosing to notice today, she asks. Paying attention and noticing smashes our hypervigilance tendencies down to the ground. The mind is always looking for trouble, trying to seek it out and avoid it. But the trouble is not always there. Over time, this can turn into a gloomy feeling, and then worse still, it can become physically alive in our bodies. Noticing how amazing life is not something that concerns the mind. Strange. But the mind clings to fear and not bliss. That's the important part. So bliss is practiced through awareness, through noticing. And when we notice, we fall into the gracious present moment, into gratitude, awe, and wonder. All things the mind doesn't like doing, we start to do. This is the art of showing up. It's the art of contemplative practice. We call living through your contemplative intelligence. Notice that you have it, this higher intelligence, and then use it. Pathway 6, master an open mind. Keeping an open mind is actually no easy task. We must replace an empty mind with an open one. It helps you to grow, strengthen self-reliance, and especially an honesty that comes with an open mind. Open minds are truth-seeking minds, full of possibility and realizations rather than rationalizations. Master an open mind by being curious, asking open-ended questions, considering maybe instead of thinking that you're right, someone else's opinion, and let your ideas be challenged. It actually opens us up to empathy, encourages relationship building with other people, and allows others to actually hear what you have to say, and vice versa. Open-minded people are redefined, so becoming more self-aware, seeking out new experiences and perspectives, actively listening to others, and especially being willing to change our minds can become the doorway to a transformed and better self. Pathway 7 is about mastering non-judgment. The mind, after all, is a judging machine. It's the nature of the mind to judge, and practicing non-judgment involves letting go of critical evaluations and embracing a more balanced and open-minded perspective. It encourages stepping out of judgmental thinking to gain a clearer and more balanced view of the world. Non-judgmental people tend to not critique too quickly. The mind wants to pursue what it thinks is good, flee from what it thinks is bad, and ignore everything else in between. So some things are judged as good. We grasp for these and we cling to them. Other things are judged as bad, so we hide, resist, run away from them. As for everything that's judged as neutral, well, we ignore it. This is how over time your judgment insurgent starts to ruin your life from the inside out. Your judge is never happy, always critical and fault-finding. Letting go of our need to control can lead to a sense of relief and peace as individuals come to terms with the limited control they actually have over various aspects of our lives. Fear of change, loneliness, and fear of rejection, uncertainty, fear of being judged, or simply loss of control are all based in one primary emotion of fear. Fear builds our masks. One of the biggest fears that we actually have stems out of our uncertainty. Fear of failure, rejection, and even fear of missing out or FOMO are all big deals when we're speaking about letting go of control. If we're not acting from a place of authenticity, we're lying, and nothing good comes from a lie. We're not speaking the truth, and pain and suffering manifest soon enough. Thou shalt not lie really means that we should not hide who we really are from ourselves. Life refuses to be denied or held back for too long, so we need the truth to set us free, and transformation to your sacred self will become necessary when you have endured enough suffering to let go of your need to control and let life finally have you. Self-love is the antidote for depression, which is a state perpetuated by our incessant need for control that eventually turns inward and turns us on ourselves. Pathway 9. Master mindful walking. Mindful walking is something any one of us can do to start to begin to practice this at any stage of our lives. If you're unable to walk, you can do it with your imagination, and there's a lot on the internet about it. The mind does not distinguish very well between your actual environment and the one that you imagine in your mind. Walk into the world every morning with intention, silence, gratitude, and a deep sense of mindfulness. Allow the thoughts you have to ebb and flow as you start to learn about how to incorporate contemplative walking into your daily practice. Out goes the autopilot, in comes mindful mastery. Mindful walking or contemplative walking is not about knowing, it's just about flowing. It's about noticing everything just as it is without the judgments, the deeper thoughts or questioning. It lets us observe as if there are ships flowing past. This in turn allows answers to flow to us as if they are spoken through some kind of ancient and silent language. Nature tends to speak like this. It is one of the rare pleasures of life today that still costs nothing. How you begin is by re-looking at everything you see on a walk. Use short words like tree, bird, water, or warmth to describe the energy and the light you sense now and you take in mindfully. Something we don't even realize, we're not even aware of if we're not mindful. Allow flow. Allow nature to communicate with you in a holy and personal communion. Holy means sacred, and everything is sacred and holy, including you. Nature will help you in its depth and simplicity to remind you of this. Pathway 10. Mindful vs. mindful. Mindfulness teaches individuals to recognize when their minds are becoming overwhelmed with information, helping them to consciously choose to stop filling their minds with excessive thoughts and distractions. Information is in no short supply today. In fact, we're overwhelmed with information. Information or inform is really our minds running on autopilot. Inspiration or in spirit is really how we're inspired to run off sacred thinking, sacred self, authentic self, whatever you want to call it. Let's be mindful rather than having a mind that is full. Pathway 11. Mastering anxiety. Mastering anxiety involves practicing techniques such as the 5-4-3-2-1 method. So many methods, I'm sure you've heard of tons of them. When you get down here in the doldrums, in the dungeons of the mind, which is your survival response, things start to happen to push you back up. And it's love or suffering that is going to get you in the front. You can choose often. It's love or suffering that is going to create spiritual dynamics that shift you one way or another. Choose love. There really is a method to the madness when it comes to mastering anxiety. To learn how to heal anxiety, we need to know why it's here and what it wants from us. Nothing is random, nothing. Master anxiety by becoming mindful of why it exists, what it wants to say, and how you will get into agreement with it so that you can make peace. Peace is anxiety's antidote. Pathway 12. Master the 5 senses through 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pratyahara means gaining mastery over external influences, or understanding and mastering the 5 senses. So the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique that we mentioned above stays in our view. It's a good example because with deep breathing and progress in mindfulness practice, we start to acknowledge our sensory perceptions in the environment. We start to master these 5 senses and become grounded, and definitely the world is finding relief from anxiety through quelling and mastering their 5 senses. But indeed, that is not enough to achieve self-mastery. To effectively control your sense organs, you need to adhere to some more simple mindfulness practices like meditating daily, contemplating, noticing, and breathing like we've mentioned. You will experience bliss when you're centered in your innate true nature, which lies beyond the 5 senses. Beyond the 5 sensory, we become extrasensory. And when we become extrasensory, then we get into the interesting stuff. Imagination, intuition, creativity. All the very best parts of ourselves are stored in our frontal lobes. We've got to take the journey from survival mind to arrive mind to thrive mind to actually start to experience the power of intention. To be able to create a life with our imagination is something that many, many people report, and in short periods of time too. So we can master the senses, and then in so doing, we open ourselves to mastering the extrasensory. Pathway 13, making mindful decisions. Making mindful decisions involves a thoughtful and deliberate approach to decision making, focusing on thought, feeling, potential outcomes to ensure better, more balanced choices. Tony Robbins suggests 4 rules for decision making, which I quite like. Rule 1, write it down. Rule 2, get clear about your feelings. Not always easy to do. Rule 3, let go of fear, a big issue that we're dealing with now. And rule 4, recognizing your values. That means recognizing who you really are, starting to bridge across from your personality to your spirituality. So what I would add to Tony's amazing 4 rules here is that making mindful decisions involves an awareness to stop before you start any action, which is counterintuitive really. But get rid of the endless flow of automatic thoughts and lean into the discomfort of feelings as you practice these 21 pathways to self-mastery. Making mindful decisions involves aligning with our intentions, then our values, then our objectives, and then who we are and who we're going to be. These bigger issues are rarely brought into our most common decision-thinking processes. Making mindful decisions involves them all. Making these decisions is something that you can master to make big, drastic, and life-altering changes in your life. Decision-making is a practice. You can become mindless per se while driving, while breaking up a salad, or missing out on the best of the day while you ruminate over stressful events that you had earlier. Trust in your intuition, your inner ding as we call it, and trust your instincts, your gut feel as you begin to make better choices. Identify your real needs, values, and priorities, which are all laced in who you really are. Remember to discover and evaluate many options. Don't go all grey or all black or all white. Make decisions based on reality, not illusion. Pathway 14, mindful everything. Make sure to have a mindful wind down before sleep. Eat, pray, and then love, all in that order. Have a mindful wake up to start your day. Mindfully set your 3 best intentions in the first hour of the day and write them down. Relax the body and do a 10-minute mindful meditation at least before arising. Deepak Chopra has suggested that sometimes he does a couple of hours meditation before starting his day. Remember to take mindful breaths to check in mindfully in the day, and at lunchtime, practice mindful eating. Then mindfully walk. Remember the 3-second rule before you do anything. This will all rewire your brain. Activate your mind and your muscles mindfully and stop with the autopilot. This is what we mean by mindful everything. Further still, you can contemplatively read, view artwork, and mindfully interact with nature. Do only what is in front of you when you feel overwhelmed and find a mindful rhythm. When we are mindful at a few things, we soon become mindful at everything. Pathway 15, mastery and the power of truth. Truth means reality. It is the place we are set free. Our life's purpose is discovering the truth, and evidence for this is that we are all just becoming more conscious every day of our lives. If you look at what happens in group therapy or an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, for example, you'll see that a bunch of people are just chipping away at the truth. Strangers help us reveal to ourselves the truth that lies below the masks of our personalities, far, far better than we can do for ourselves. We're just too close to the problem. The same thing happens in a psychologist's office. All that people do is sit on the couch and talk until they discover the truth within. The truth is hidden and dormant within us all along. We just need to uncover it. So we are led to believe a lie, and finding the truth is a natural progression through problems towards solutions. Mindful practice is being still, aware, and present enough to allow the truth to reveal itself. Pathway 16, mastery beyond fear. Mindfulness encourages individuals to confront fear and anxiety as a means of learning and growing. Ultimately, this all leads to a greater sense of freedom and real control over our emotional responses. So we know we can practice Thai massage, yoga, mindfulness techniques, and meditation. But the important bit is to know that we're always moving beyond fear, and the real pathway is back to love. This return to love, love of the self, health, wealth, and world, is our cure for anxiety. Anxiety is separation from love, so connection is how we develop mastery beyond fear. All you need is love. Pathway 17, mindfulness over fear and anxiety. Fear is a reaction to a current threat, while anxiety is a feeling of dread about a future threat. So we need to tackle both fear and anxiety with mindfulness. Some people might say that having fear and anxiety as a mindfulness mastery tool wouldn't be a good thing. In fact, any form of anxiety should be treated as negative. But to be honest, without fear and anxiety, you wouldn't live very long at all. In the beginning of any growth process, we normally suffer some sort of pain. Just look at starting gym or walking 10 miles. We have growing pains, so to speak, and only thereafter, if we persevere through the initial pain, do we get to a place of more contentment and more fulfillment. We get to a place of higher consciousness and understanding, which of course is probably a large part of what the meaning of life itself has to do with. So listen, mindfulness over fear and anxiety is a choice. This is good news, so choose wisely. Pathway 18, Mindful Sensing. Practicing mindful sensing involves breathing methods, guided imagery, and other practices to relax the body and mind. All these practices, of course, help to reduce stress, which is a good thing. However, that is just the doorway to the infinite, boundless spiritual self within. Mindful sensing is a type of meditation that involves being aware of your current feelings and sensations without judgment or interpretation. Over-analysis paralysis is not mindful sensing. So this mindful sensing is a way to anchor yourself in the present moment and can help reduce stress. It helps us maintain moment-by-moment awareness of our thoughts, feelings, body sensations, and the surrounding environment through a gentle, nurturing lens. Stress is like that uninvited guest who just won't leave. Mindfulness, on the other hand, can be the bouncer. It uses the five senses, sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste, of course, as we've discussed, to anchor us in that present moment. But here's the exciting bit. Once we are mindful and present, we are able to practice contemplative practices that take us beyond the sensory and into the extrasensory. We are all creatures capable of extrasensory mastery. Christ said that we would be able to move mountains with our belief. And belief, intuition, imagination are all examples of the tools we have to access our incredible power beyond the sensory. Pathway 19, Mindful Kindness. Kindness is portrayed as an act of mindful service and compassion, emphasizing the importance of self-care, self-discipline, and mindful consumption. One of my favorite mindfulness practices is called loving kindness, or metta, which helps us cultivate an attitude of open, unconditional friendliness, EQ really. This practice entails sending kind, compassionate, or loving intentions, or phrases or affirmations to several different categories of individuals. Well, I call this metta. Metta meditation starts with the self and then pours out through the great chain of being, through minerals at the very bottom, to other animals, to people, and all the way up to God at the top, at the level of the metaphysical. So kindness practices are concerned with altruism, with generosity and mutual cooperation. Acting with kindness consistently over time leads to more happiness, better health, stronger, lasting friendships, and even greater longevity. Now that is self-love in depth right there. Pathway 20. Uncover the beauty of mindful seeing. Now, the art of mindful seeing resembles meditation, except it harnesses the power of sight to immerse yourself into the intricacies of a single present moment. To embark on this practice, simply find a comfortable spot, stand or sit if you like, and leisurely absorb the entire visual scene without rushing, without analyzing and calculating. Discard the tendency to mentally label or categorize the elements within that sight. What sets this mindfulness practice apart is its reliance on extrasensory abilities, transcending the limitations of those basic five senses. Through mindful seeing, you can dedicate 5 minutes, 5 hours if you like, gazing out of a window, perceiving the world as if you were for the very first time. Instead of automatically pigeonholing or scrutinizing things, we have the opportunity to mindfully behold birds, colors, shapes, distances even. and even the proximity of your nose, a detail that is often overlooked by the mind. Yes, in case you've forgotten, the mind has cut out the vision of your nose to make your day more pleasurable. So by opting for more mindful seeing, we shift from analysis to pure observation, allowing thoughts to flow far more freely, unrestricted by the pursuit of solutions and the fixation of forthcoming, incessant challenge. Finally, pathway 21, mastering mindful meditation. In some ways, we have saved the best for last. Mindful meditation, like CQ meditation practices, have been known to heal depression, anxiety, major pain, and even major medical issues in a short period of time, which we won't get into now, but the science is out there. Mindfulness meditation is a mental training practice that teaches you to start by slowing down racing thoughts. It teaches you to let go of negativity and calm both your mind and your body. It combines meditation with the practice of mindfulness, which can be defined as a mental state that involves being focused on the present, I would say. So you can acknowledge and accept your thoughts, feelings, all the sensations that you have, but without judgment. That's mindfulness mastery. The CQ mindfulness meditations that we practice will often take you beyond these five senses, beyond the mind's need for certainty, and then even beyond your personality. Because beyond your personality is where you will find your soul, or your sacred self, or whatever you want to call it, because that's where change, transformation, spiritual awakening, and miracle making happen. And there you have the 21 pathways to self-mastery. Mindful mastery is a process. It is not a once-off deal. When you think of mindful mastery, think of mindful living, of advocating for presence, for kindness, for compassion, all essential tools for our future and for transforming our own lives. If you practice mindful mastery, you'll actually be practicing a more deliberate and fulfilling way to embrace self-discovery at a really, really deep level and find out who you really, really are, which is a lifelong process. So I hope these 21 pathways to mindfulness mastery have really taken you on a little bit of a journey towards developing a key where you can access mindful and contemplative states whenever you want to. In fact, all 21 keys have been around for centuries. This is important to know because it's a good news again. It proves their authenticity. It proves that things have not changed, and that which is real is that which does not change. Mindfulness mastery, after all, will help you shift from personality to spiritual reality. Namaste.